My loves, I am so happy and so pleased to announce that this episode is brought to you by my very own company, Savage Chocolates, which is all about cultivating a more loving relationship to your body and to food. You know, we don't really believe in guilty pleasure. We just believe in pleasure done well. Right? Have you ever had that candy bar or thing of ice cream and you eat it and you're like, wait, I don't remember eating that. Wait, where'd that go? Well, that's why I created Savage Chocolates, because I know the importance of pleasure. And I think that we don't slow down enough to actually experience it. And so if you are wanting to eat mindfully, if you are wanting to be reminded of how to actually experience your pleasure, then please go to www.savagelosangeles.com to order your goods. All right, you guys, let's get to it.
OMG, Andrea Crowder, thank you so much for being here.
My 100% pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I feel so honored because I had the fine privilege of being on your podcast a while ago. Is that podcast still a thing, by the way?
No, well, whether it's a thing or not.
I love bringing up sensitive, weird shit. It's the best.
My partner got it in the divorce.
Oh, fuck. You know what? This is the beauty of everything unfolding as it should, though, right?
Always.
Like, here we are. And like, I love talking to you. And I feel like you and I have a lot of, we're just very aligned as far as our message. And so I would love to hear what your message is and why you do what you do and who the hell are you, girl?
Well, thank you for asking. Before I answer that question, I want to say for any of my introverts out there, because I was just talking about like what a true introvert I am. I used to make my brother go make friends for us because I was so afraid to like go meet people. And then I married an extrovert, and now he goes and like meets the neighbors, and then he introduces the neighbors to me. So great. I am a true introvert, and like my secret for networking and expanding my network of like really fucking cool people like you is that I invite people on my podcast, or at least I did until I'm launching a new one just so I can meet people.
We'll do this again. Fuck yeah. That's such a gangster move. Like, hey, you seem cool. Come on my podcast. And then you're like, oh, I got to know you. Now I'm down.
Exactly. So, when I came across the Savage website, I fell in love with the branding. My brand artist had actually found you first, and she's like, check out this company. And so I just started scrolling through all your pages. The messaging was so aligned, and nobody knew that we're developing Freq behind the scenes. So Freq Rituals is my product-based company. We create frequency-infused modern manifestation products.
Did everyone hear that? What? Like, that's so gangster. What the fuck?
They are very, very cool. And the very first product that I knew that we're going to have was a bath salt that was infused with meditative frequencies to help people get into theta brainwave states faster. So when I saw your chocolates, I'm like, someday I'm going to collab with this girl. We hadn't even ever spoken yet. I reached out to you. My offer, instead of an ask, was like me, inviting you onto the podcast and sharing your brand. And that was like my secret way of getting into your life, because I just really wanted to know you.
Girl, same. Yeah. I like immediately purchased a bunch of your stuff. I was like, oh, we got to try this. We got to try that. So good. But oh my God, I'm obsessed with Freq. It's so like, A, it smells unbelievable, but B, the meditation that comes along with it it's just so purposeful. Like it's a purposeful brand, and there's not enough purposeful shit out there right now.
Thank you for saying that, because truly, like, every element of that brand, from like messaging to packaging to colors, was all so very intentional about experience from every like corner of the brand. So I appreciate that compliment.
So true. So tell me why it's about She Makes Bank. Like, why is it about money? What's the drive? What's like your story around that, and why it's important to you and why you're spreading it?
So I didn't grow up with money, and like I could tell you the sob story, and I'll give you a little bit of my background for sure. But the truth is that I wanted to sell people what they wanted and give them what they need. And people think their biggest problem is that they need more money. And what I care about the most, because this has been the biggest transformation in my life, I've made millions of dollars since I started my business back in 2011. And I started with investing $200 that we couldn't afford. We were living paycheck to paycheck. My husband's in the Army. We had just PCS'd, if people know what that term means, to the DC area. And I saw this girl on Facebook and I was like, she talks every Thursday about getting paid, talking about a network marketing company, but I didn't know that. And so I fell in love with like this aura that she had. She had this like energy that I was deeply, deeply craving because I was tired of struggling. Like I couldn't even go out to dinner with my husband without worrying like, if he orders 2 drinks, that's going to put us over, like alcohol is fucking expensive. So like my biggest concern was not like, how can I enjoy this moment that we might have, convinced a friend to babysit our little kids at the time so that we can really like lock eyes and enjoy each other's company. It was just complete panic the entire time. So my motivation at the time was like, how can I make a couple extra $100 a month to start paying off my student loan bills? And then maybe we can make a little bit extra just to give us a little wiggle room. So I've done that. And since then, like created financial freedom beyond our wildest dreams. But what I realized was that was not the secret to actually feeling internal happiness, because you could be having a $30,000 month, a $50,000 month. You can have a $100,000 launch. And I've done all of those things. And that did not mean that on the other end of that I had peace. And that's what people are really looking for when they want financial freedom, is they want the feeling that they think is attached to it. And nobody knows actually how to generate that feeling consistently unless like emotional regulation is a natural part of your lifestyle. And for 99.9% of people, it's just not. And I know you know this, being who you are and what your brand is about and how you live every day. It's just not widely known enough. And I thought, what if I could teach through beautiful product? And what if I could sell people on the idea of being like the wealthy girl who has like the cool Instagram account? And we created physical products that are really modern. They're really neutrally beautiful so that they can kind of fit into the background of people's lives without people wanting to put it in a drawer. Because if it's out of sight, out of mind. So I wanted beautiful tools that people wanted to keep on the countertop to disrupt their patterns, get into their environment, and remind them to use them, because I want to trick people into feeling good every single day. And I did that, I think, really well. Through selling them on the idea of wealth. And we deliver because we do teach about wealth concepts. We do teach about manifestation. We provided guided visualizations to help kind of the central nervous system start to feel safe around wealth. And my background in business over the last over 10 years has been trying to figure out why some people can maintain success and other people it's really spotty. What happens? Why are there like the non-starters? And through all of that research, it really prepared me to understand the energetics when it came to manifestation, which I've been a student of for a really, really long time. And then to understand the psychology of human behavior, which I've been obsessed with probably since I was old enough to start studying people, which was maybe around 3. Like that's just who I am as a person. It's like a people studier. I'm the quiet girl in the group that just watches. So that was kind of like the motivation. It truly wasn't because I have this deep mission to make women wealthy. I do have that because I think the world is going to change when more good-hearted women have deep pockets. Yeah. I think that's super fucking important because they're going to use their nurture to invest. Oh, like my whole body's lighting up. I'm being so confirmed right now that the world will be changed when more wealth is in women's pockets.
Yes.
So I care about that very much. And I'm upfront about that, but that's not the main motivator. For me, if I look at like the back end version of like what I believe I'm doing for people, I believe that I'm helping set themselves free from the inside so that you can have the beautiful health and wake up and actually feel good in it. Because I know a lot of people that have gone from being pregnant, broke, and homeless, like I was when I was 19 years old, to making millions of dollars in business. And they're still waking up every day. They're panicked with anxiety that they're going to lose it all. So you think your problem is going to be solved with like exponential wealth. But the truth is if you don't figure out how to manage what's on the inside, you're going to constantly still live in fear that you have the success, but you won't be able to keep it. And you will never fucking enjoy the beautiful present moment.
Oh my God.
What a shame.
Holy shit. You just gave so much. It's so real. Like the stories that we tell ourselves around money and like the stories, for the longest time, I had a story of being afraid to receive and to receive finances, to receive relationships, to receive pretty much anything, because I was afraid that if I received it, then I would lose it and then I'd be fucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, that was the story. And like that story needed to die because I wasn't able to actually download anything, because I was always like, no, you can't even come into my life. Cause once you're there, then you will, the other shoe will drop.
Yeah.
And that's a story that so many of us, and generationally, like that was it. Like the buck stops here with me, because this was like a very generational.
So I'll tell you a fun story. I just started becoming recently obsessed with like learning about crypto. Like,
I just made my first investment. My first investment yesterday.
I did it a few days ago. Me and a couple of friends decided just to like play around with it. We just put a few $100s in each and we just all put it in together.
Cool. And
through that process of just starting, I became obsessed with researching. I have so much life force energy around it. I'm telling you, I'm going to be so good at this. I took notes.
I can see this. I'm
a freak obsessed with it now. I wrote down and I asked the girls where we all put money in. And I said, let me ask you guys a question. I literally have it right here in front of me in my notes. And I said, if I'm insanely wealthy, I'm afraid that fill in the blank. Each person had to be really fucking honest about what was their real deep fear. And one person said that I won't be responsible. Another person said that it'll go away. And the other said that I'll squander it and I'll be lazy. The Taurus said, I'm afraid I'll be lazy.
And you all think that astrology is bullshit. You guys, the Taurus, come on. You can't make that shit up.
I know.
Okay, so will you say the question one more time, just so if people want to write it down again?
Yeah, I said, if I'm insanely wealthy, I'm afraid that fill in the blank.
So good. And you have to dig deep with it. You can't just be like, oh, I'm afraid I'll buy too many clothes. Like, well, maybe, but really like look at what's underneath. Because again, that story, like, oh, I can't have this because then I'll lose it. Oh, I can't have this because then I'll be 300,000 pounds because I'll never stop eating the bougiest shit on the planet. Like, whatever. I don't know what the story could be, but like that could be the story.
Yes, that might become true for me, but I'm not afraid of that.
Yeah, I'm not really either. Go off. I'm like, if I'm happy, great. But totally.
This is like one of those main reasons that I also developed Freq. And I love like the emails that we send out there. I love sending like reflective questions like this. In fact, I don't think maybe like once ever have I ever just sent out like a sale email or like, just something that talks about the products. It's really like teaching people this inner work of like, what am I afraid is really going to happen? And one of the beautiful things about our products is that they actually help you move through that. So the elixir or the bath salts help you get into those theta brainwave states, which help you access the subconscious mind. So the reason that people always message us and say, I feel like my whole body is like a rock and I can't move it. And it feels like I'm getting buzzed, but like in the best way. And I don't want to move. And I'm like, the reason for that is because when you get into those theta brainwave states, your body essentially goes to sleep, but your mind is awake. So now you're in those like delicious subconscious area where you can actually access the real shit that's driving the bus. Yes. All of those unconscious patterns that are making decisions for you. And the subconscious gets a bad rap because it's making these decisions that are so out of alignment with what they want, but what you resist persists. So if you can like love and appreciate the fact that that fear was there to keep you safe, you can also feel it. So we help you get into those theta brainwave states really fucking quickly with those two products. And then the third product, the nostalgic manifesting mist, once you move through it, and sometimes I don't even dig deep. Sometimes I just feel where the resistance is in my body and I just ask for a gift to transmute that resistance. I'm such a freaking like nerd around energy, and I really do I allow healing to be super easy. But once I feel that resistance is melted in my body, however I access it and move through it, then I get myself into an elevated state of, if the opposite were true, if I wasn't afraid to be insanely wealthy, what would that mean? And how would I feel? How would I feel is the most important question. And once I let myself really like amplify that feeling, I'll tell my body like more, just to like intend to amplify the feeling until it's at like the peak that I can possibly get it to in that moment. And then I'll anchor our nostalgic manifesting mist to it, because scent connects to the area of the brain that stores memory and emotion. And because emotion is that magnetic piece in the manifestation process and the piece that we crave every day, we want those higher vibration emotions because they feel good in our body. They feel resonant in our body. So I didn't mean to go on that tangent, but
never, ever. Oh my God. I want all of that. That was so beautiful. And it's so true, like microcosm, macrocosm, right? Like as above, so is below. So as within, so is without. So if we are vibrating at an internal frequency of, I'm afraid of having this, 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 then that will keep whatever wants to come in out, period. Right.
It comes with healthy intention.
Exactly. And we are energetic beings. Like we've all, it's like me meeting you. I'm like, this is a bad bitch. Like I've never met you in person, but like, I love your energy. But you can also be in a room with somebody and be like, toxic, before they even open their mouth.
And I've learned actually, because I'm on like a big binge of like, my sentences starting out with the words my therapist said. Yes. My therapist is the coolest. I love him so much. He's trained in like a million different modalities, like hypnotherapy, rapid resolution therapy, super fucking cool. But he was just talking about how like to be able to move through something that you feel is like incorrect for you, the fastest way to do that is through neutrality. And so even like, I'm trying not to even use words like toxic anymore and just use words like it's either resonance or dissonance, because that feeling only simply means that we're either in resonance with someone vibrationally or we're in dissonance with them vibrationally. But if I don't judge it, then I'm getting the healing, right? Yes. I'm moving forward. And that doesn't mean that I have to allow people into my life. It's like the dissonance is telling me something that like, we're probably not going to vibe in like the cooler language that we would use. Right.
Totally.
But literally meaning like our vibrational waves don't match and that's it.
Yes. Yes. And it's true. If we're all mirrors for each other anyway, then there's probably something reflected in them that either like I've already healed, it doesn't vibe, or it's like, it just doesn't resonate. Like we're not on the same plane, or that's something that I need to look at too. Sometimes we meet people that have something certainly going on that it's like, that is something that lives in me, but I don't want to look at it yet. And,
I do say that sometimes. God, totally. I see this, but I'm not ready to heal it.
I'm not ready to heal it yet. And that's okay. It's like often the people that trigger us the most are those people. It's like, where does that live in me? Like, how does that show up in me? Because maybe it doesn't look like that. Yeah. But if it triggers me, then it's probably not completely healed. More than likely.
100%. And really all it's showing you is that there is resonance with your vibration if you're able to feel that feeling. Yes. Right? Which means that the healing is inside of you, because you need to handle, why is that resonant with me? If we're both feeling bad around each other, I can witness somebody who's in a lower vibration and I can stay in my high vibration. But then if it's my husband and all of a sudden my vibration drops, that's not his fucking fault. That's my fault. Like, why was my vibration so unstable in this relationship? That's the question I have to ask. That doesn't mean if he's abusive to me, and he's not, like, just so we're clear, but like, if that were the case, if somebody close to us in our life wasn't treating us well, that doesn't mean stay, but it doesn't mean go find somebody else and think your problem solved, right? Like the shit still lives within you.
No doubt. I mean, it's so true. Like how many times have we gotten out of a partnership and we're like, oh, I just met this new guy. And he's like, same guy, different name, different face. Like just
also your father.
Yeah, exactly. And also your father and your grandfather and your grandfather. Yeah. No joke. I want to hear if you would tell us why the feeling part of it is so important, like why tapping into the feeling is the thing versus like the action of it.
Well, the action is a part of it. It's just not the first step. So Joe Dispenza teaches that the thought sends the signal out and the feeling draws the experience back to. That's the magnet. So those are two major components to manifestation. But what do you do when it's not working? So under the Freq Rituals brand, we developed 4 custom steps that were literally like given to me out of a dead cold sleep on a new moon. Like
go off.
Cliche, like spiritual story ever. Like woke up on a new moon and heard the voice of God. But that is actually what fucking happened.
So fucking cool.
So I'd never heard the words before, see it, speak it, know it, have it. And they truly were the first words that I heard when I woke up this morning. So I wrote them down, and that was the day that the Freq Rituals brand was born, like conceptually on paper. And see it is the step where you resonate with your spiritual body. So if you look at your 4 bodies, your spiritual body, your mental body, your emotional body, and your physical body, you want all 4 of those lined up going in the same direction to get to where you're trying to go. A lot of times, if it's new for someone or they have resistance or belief system, they can get their physical body heading in that direction, and their spiritual body is certainly headed in that direction. But the mental body and the emotional body are like, we're out. This isn't safe.
Got it. Totally.
So you have 2 of your bodies going in one direction and then 2 of your energetic bodies going in the other direction. So that's a problem, right? So our 4 steps represent one of each of those bodies. So see it is your spiritual body. That's where you can see clearly in your mind's eye where you're going. You have the vision, right? Cool. Step 1. Speak it is getting your mental body in alignment with the desire. So you are verbally affirming, maybe outwardly, like actually speaking it out loud, or speaking it within yourself. And if you find yourself going in the opposite direction, just saying like, thank you for leading me in that direction, but that's unnecessary or something. Like, don't get pissed that you're having thoughts that are out of alignment with your desire. If you're like, I'm broke, and now you're mad because you know you shouldn't be saying that, because that's not a part of manifestation. People do that a lot. So speak it is step 2, and that's getting your mental body in alignment. Know it is that feeling inside of certainty. When you know something, it's going to happen, right? You know that when you place an order on Amazon, it's going to be delivered to your house in 24 to 48 hours, most of the time outside of COVID, right?
Give it a week out.
Like you have that certainty. You're not worried it's not coming, right? You know it's coming no matter what. And even if it gets lost in the mail, you know the package is still coming, because you'll just message the company and they'll send you a new one, right? When you're desiring something new, developing that certainty is so important. So we thought, like, what is the best way that we can like essentially get the body to feel safe and feeling familiar around it? If it's familiar, if it's somewhere your body thinks it's already been, then your body doesn't resist it, because your mental body and your emotional body feel safe. So that's why our nostalgic manifesting list is so crucial. And we always say, like, don't just buy one of our products, at least buy 2. You either got to buy, like, if you want the system, you've got to use like, or you can meditate on your own. Like truly, our products are unnecessary for you to manifest well. They're just a support tool if you enjoy the vibe.
Oh my God, but who doesn't? So, it's like an accountability partner, you know, like it's like the reason that I have a therapist and a coach. Like I have a therapist to help me like wade through my emotional body. And then I have like a coach to help me like with the action of it, to like hold me accountable.
Exactly. Thank you for saying that. And that is truly like why we developed products that we wanted on the counter, so that you really felt like that disruption in your environment to remind you. So I like that accountability partner. You might see that come up in a post later on.
Use it, honey.
But
it's true. That's what it is.
Right. So once you can start to familiarize your body with the feeling, that's a magnetic piece. So the thought is constantly sending signals out, gathering information for you, but the magnetic piece keeps getting cut off by conditioning. So like you send the signal out with a thought, I want to make $10,000 in my business this month. And the feeling is resistance. So the feeling cancels the thought out. And you just keep doing that to yourself over and over and over when it's something that you haven't done before. But since the body doesn't know the difference between real or pretend, you can condition the body in the opposite direction. It's literally like reverse trauma. And in a traumatic event, a negative traumatic event, your body goes into an elevated emotion, and then the brain stores information using all five of your senses around this specific event to store it in your body to help you steer clear of future situations like that again. So that's why if you've been in an accident in the rain, sometimes smelling the rain or maybe smelling oil on the road might trigger you. Or in the opposite, if you smell grandma's cookies recipe or something like that, it might remind you of like a familiar nurtured experience with like a grandparent or something like that. So we took the opposite to be true, and we teach people to get into a positive elevated emotional state that matches the frequency of their desire. And then to continuously, every time you spray the nostalgic manifesting mist, once it's anchored, then it pulls the feeling back into your body. So the magnetic piece state, it's like almost like consistently charging the magnet if the magnet needed charging, because you're through like that piece of your brain that stores the memory and stores the emotion, you're re-triggering it all the time on purpose to help train your body to feel that emotion.
I love smart products. It's so good.
Very cool, right?
It's so fucking cool and so real. I mean, again, we have so many belief systems around money. We all have our different, the things that we learned growing up about people with money. I still have friends that say things like, oh yeah, she's really rich, like weird, not about me, but like about other people, like, oh wow, like she's not very nice. She's like super wealthy. And I'm like, that is so not my like belief system around people with money. Like it just can't be like, unless you don't want to ever have money.
But the truth is like, you can be broke and be a douche too. So
exactly. But that says so much about like our belief systems and like the way that we're 100%. Trained. And it'll make us steer clear of it if our belief system is intense enough. And luckily we can untie those internal knots, but we need the help, and we need like accountability partners. Yeah. Yep. God, so good. So good. Yeah,
we're actually going to have our therapist start recording. I say ours because my whole family sees him now. Like we're like every Saturday, one of the Crowders is in therapy.
I love it. So good.
Love him. Dr. Wayne Brown, if you guys need a great therapist.
Check him out. Yeah, we'll put him in the show notes. Shout out.
But we're going to have him start recording some guided visualizations too, using some of the different therapeutic modalities too. So like eventually we want to have a huge free library that will start to train the body, train the mind in the same direction. And the way that he explains like why the body does what it does, and like how the primal part of our brain and how the intelligent part of our brain were developed at different times, and they don't talk well to each other, and what to do about that. He says it in the most beautiful way. I actually hired him to come speak to the women in my mastermind. And he just blew their fucking socks off in 60 minutes. And we talked about like what to do about anxiety, because that's like the realest of the real when it comes to entrepreneurship. I think I'm actually going to take that recording and just like put it for free on my website for the whole world to see. It's just too good to like keep locked up in a vault.
Oh my God, we'll all have to check that out.
100%. It's so good.
That'd be awesome. What do you find that
don't take up all his hours? I'm like, I got to make sure
yes. I love it. Well, and you've spent so many years as a coach as well, and helping people and individuals start their own businesses. And, you've really run the gambit and seen people go from it sounds so bad, but rags to riches, or, really save their own businesses. What do you think are some of the biggest blockages that we have as individuals, as entrepreneurs, or just as people wanting to, like, what are some of the worst beliefs or worst patterns that we have around that?
I don't know that it's the belief systems or patterns that one would be worse than the other, because it could be the most innocent belief system. But the thing is like, if people knew how to emotionally regulate, you could acknowledge the belief system and still take action. So I actually forgot to list the fourth step. So thanks for asking that question.
Yeah.
So taking action is the fourth step. So like visualize, see it, speak it, know it, have it. Visualize, affirm, feel, and then aligned action. Once you've got yourself into the alignment state, then you take aligned action from there. But most people don't know how to do that. So people are efforting and they're trying to like barrel their way through the resistance.
Just pure
which means
pushing.
that they're taking action. Yeah, they're creating from that lower vibration, and then they're wondering why they get low vibrational results, right? It's super spotty. They can't keep the consistency in their business. It's because they're creating from those lower chakras instead of the heart. And like the heart, they've been able to even measure this now, has like the biggest like magnetic reach. So if you're creating from the heart space, that is like the most powerful space to manifest from. But so many people are creating from those lower chakras. They're like fears or necessities, and they're just pushing through, and they just can't figure out why it's falling flat for them. So I would say on the flip side of that question is like, it doesn't matter what the belief systems are. The answer is emotional regulation, always.
Whoa. Okay. So how do we get to an emotionally regulated state?
Well, I like to first just put my hand on my heart and ask myself, what do I need? I don't think we ask that question enough. And I ask myself this several times throughout the day. If I'm feeling resistance, I just put my hand on my heart and I say, what do I need? Sometimes I need to take a break. Sometimes I need to go get some water. Sometimes I forgot to eat. Sometimes I need to look at the situation of whatever I'm dealing with a new perspective. Sometimes I need to meditate. So I go through my 4 steps of see it, speak it, know it, have it every single day. Wow. And simply I'll just say, like, to my audience, I'll say, shift the frequency, do the thing. And that what that looks like is to align that spiritual body, the mental body, and the emotional body in the same direction before you activate the physical body.
You better fucking coin some terms. Shift your frequency, do the thing, get out of town. Yeah. You're so cool.
I'll go and trademark that one.
Yeah, please TM that. That's lit. Totally. And that is so important, because I find myself, I'm really good at pushing, like really good at just being like, yeah, cool, whatever, just go. Mm-hmm. And I wonder why I'm like blown out sometimes, you know, and it's about, and it's like, I know this stuff, but we need people like you to remind us, because even someone like me who teaches yoga and meditation and has her own mindfulness chocolate brand, it's like, I forget it too. We all do.
And I like started out by having to pay someone to like essentially sit on me to like decondition the shit out of me. Like, she would like force me to walk away from my phone for 48 hours when I was launching a different product-based business at the time. And like, I literally paid her to like make me do nothing, because I was so conditioned to push through that I didn't know how not to. And now I can say that I'm not flawless at it, because I've had experiences where I'm like, okay, I can see I'm doing it, but I'm really quick to catch it now. And most of the time I won't do it in the first place. But it took me probably 3 straight years of really working hard until this is a natural part of how I exist now. And it's only in like rare occasions where like I might revert back to old patterns. But usually it's like a trauma trigger has to happen before that. And that's generally the case.
That's so true. It's like, and that integration, it's like, you know, I think of myself with like my eating disorder and stuff. Like, I'm certainly not anorexic anymore. But if something traumatic happens, like my mother passed away a few months ago, as you know, it's like, there was a moment of like, oh, you could just like not eat that. You could just like not eat breakfast or like eat anything today. And like, then you kind of numb out. Right. Like the thoughts still sometimes surface. It's just now I'm like, oh, hold on. Let's change the conversation. Let's switch it up. So it's not like, okay, cool. I'm healed. And like, it's done. I think we do have to continue to pay attention.
Right. And notice like the fact that you do have the tools now, and the fact that like our subconscious is such a vault that like you're not going to heal it all in a lifetime.
No.
So if that's the truth, right, exactly, 100%. Like I said to myself the other day, I'm like, why am I making this so hard? And I was like, because I actually enjoy getting my hands dirty. And I was like, wait, yes. I wanted this. And then I enjoyed it more once I allowed myself to admit that I wanted to have to get my hands dirty in that project.
Oh, such good awareness. Yeah. It's like, my therapist always says like, what's the payoff of this? Like, what's the payoff of, this, that, and the other thing? Like if the payoff of getting your hands dirty is that like, it makes you feel powerful, then like there's a payoff there, even if it's kind of a struggle. So we'll do it.
Yes. I had this really radical self-awareness when my husband went into treatment at the end of last year. So 2020, the lack of being able to get like the therapeutic care that he needed for his PTSD, he ended up like completely crashing. It was rough to watch, like to the point where he was in a schizophrenic state for like 72 hours and I had to like force him into like an inpatient psych hold. It was horrific. So, through that though, like the blessing was that he was willing to go into like a voluntary treatment plan for PTSD support. So, which he agreed to, and we found truly one of the most magical places in the world. If you ever are need to like find a place like that, the Guest House Ocala in Florida is straight magic. It's like one of the most loving, healing places. I couldn't recommend them enough. They were all angels, and I love that place. And I know that's not true for a lot of places like that.
Sure.
So, but on the flip side, like, because it was so fast and we had to get him in, we couldn't get insurance approved. So we had to come out of pocket for pretty insane expenses. And, I kept telling myself this story, like, I can't sleep, I can't rest, because the story I kept telling myself in my head was, if I stop, he'll die. Like, that's how real it felt to me. Like, he'll end up being one of those veterans on the side of the road asking for money, because eventually, like, the Percocet that he gets prescribed to him and alcohol won't be enough anymore to numb out the pain, and he'll move on to like harder things. And so that was like how I was like linking this in my head. But then like who I've been since probably birth is like the person that saves people. And so I told this story in my head, but I get to be the person that saves him. Mm. And I was getting so much out of that unconsciously that I didn't even realize. And I realized at the end of it of like, I wanted to be the one. I didn't want to be in that circumstance in the first place. Let's be very clear. But if anybody was going to save him, I wanted to be the one to save him.
Of course.
And I was like, oh, fuck, I have to unravel this shit before I attract more people in my life that need to be saved. You know, like my husband's not going anywhere. We've been together for almost 18 years, but like, I don't need any more.
You're all set. You're all set. Yeah, I totally relate to that story as well, by the way. Yeah. Full on. Wow. Well, I mean, thank you for that. Thank you for just all of that. That was so beautiful. I just like, I look at the clock, I'm like, oh, wow, it's already been 45 minutes. I just want to know, like, so I am lucky enough to have your products here in my home, and I get to use them. So of course, you guys with the show notes and everything, we'll have Freq Rituals, listed below, so you can check it out. I love that the word ritual is in that. I'd love to hear a little bit about why that was the word that you chose. Rituals are so important to me, so I have my own kind of version, but I'd love to know from you what that's about.
That was a divine redirection, because it was just going to be Freq. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you guys have like gotten the point right now, but it's like FREQ for frequency. So, but we got declined through the trademark office because somebody in another country had FREEQ and they sell supplements, but the company had gone out of business but it was still a live trademark. So we got declined for that. And so we knew that the whole brand was all about creating rituals because I believe your results for anything are found within your rituals. So we wanted to not just create products, but we wanted to create like systematic experiences for people where they didn't have to do it perfectly or our way, but we gave them a way to play with to see where they found resonance and where they found dissonance and get them really playing with the energy. So every part of our brand is meant to be so experiential, from the products being frequency infused to having the QR code on the back to have the visualization library. Like we take them through a whole journey through like the emails you getting, like the journal prompts. We even have like when you get your first product sent to you, you get an email where you can sign up for 10 days of text where it starts to kind of reprogram your focus and get like the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual body headed in the same direction.
Cool.
So it's like a little 10-day manifestation challenge. So we try to keep, and even like down to the labels, like the labels are textured. We did that on purpose because we wanted people to feel something throughout every element of the brand experience. So it wasn't always intended to be Freq Rituals, but it was intended to teach rituals. So that was like a natural decision to just trademark it as such.
So good. Yeah. Just the aspect of a ritual, which is like, it's a practice, it's like, just like you have my morning ritual of getting up and doing breath work and meditating. It's like, it's a practice, and it's carving out the time for a moment of self-care and a moment of connection to self to jumpstart my day in whatever way that it needs to be jumpstarted, and like to jumpstart your day with the frequency of abundance. That's dope.
And you can use the products for anything. Like we branded the collection She Makes Bank because it's fun and punchy, and like people like to post pictures of it and like declare that they're like creating wealth for themselves. But you don't just have to use it for wealth. Like you can manifest anything with it. It's really about the practice. But people have rituals that aren't necessarily helping them either. Like I have a ritual every single night. I get into bed and then I get out of bed for a snack. And it's like not the best ritual, but
but it's yours.
It's like somebody else is driving that bus to the pantry, and every night I have to get out of bed and I have to have a snack.
I love it.
I just don't care enough to break the ritual because I kind of like it. But
exactly, totally. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a therapist, and she was talking about how codependent her cats are on her. And she's like, that's the last codependent relationship I want. She's like, I will not break that codependency. I like it.
Yes. Yeah.
Like we get to choose. Yeah. Choose. It's all good.
Okay. It is like really about teaching people like intentional practices to just bring you back into the present moment during the day, because it feels really good. It feels really good to stay focused on where you are and not be thinking about the future and freaked out a lot of times about it.
So good. Thank you for that. And thank you for all that you're doing. And I just want to hear where we can connect to you, like where we can find you.
Yeah. So Freq Rituals on Instagram, and then freqrituals.com. And I know you have a link for those. And if you guys want to try out the collection and you buy 3 products, you guys can use the code She Makes Bank and you'll get $20 off. And
so good.
If you want to find me personally, I share a lot of the behind the scenes of like growing the companies. I have a personal brand where I sell digital courses and all that too. But I share the behind the scenes of like building the digital brand as well as the physical product brand. Like I just talked today about like us planning our holiday collection. So if you guys are really into kind of seeing the thought process behind how entrepreneurs make decisions, and I talk a lot about how I stay in alignment through it. I use the See It, Speak It, Know It, Have It process to self-fund the entire company. And I'm the solo 100% owner of the brand. So I talk about that as well. And like how I did that, and like the manifestation process and the practical process, and even having conversations with investors. I talk about the conversations that were had and all that. So you guys can go to love_Andrea Crowder on Instagram. My Insta stories are where I should share the most of the content.
They're so good, you guys. Don't miss out. They're so good. Well, I'm so grateful. Thank you for your time and your wisdom. And I can't wait to spread the news.
Oh, I love you so much.
Love you,
I'm
Mama.
so glad I stalked you on the internet.
Thank God for the internet. It's shit like that. You're like, yes, Instagram for the win. All right, babe.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for carving out the time to listen to this wisdom, to listen to all this goodness. Once again, gentle reminder to please check out savagelosangeles.com to learn more about my new company that I'm so proud of. I hope it inspires you to create and cultivate a life that you dig. And also, if you are down and have, 10 seconds, then please give this podcast a 5-star review on iTunes. Super easy. Just give it 5 stars, maybe say a few kind words. And if you dug it, please share it with your friends. I would be over the moon with gratitude. All right. You guys are the bee's knees. Much love. Stay savage.